We're going to go ahead and call the Escade Board of Directors meeting to order February 12th at 7:01. Let's go ahead and stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Denise, can we do a roll call?
Director Lohmeyer.
Here.
Director Johnston.
Here.
Director Walper.
Here.
Director Martinez.
Here.
Director Berman.
Here.
Vice Chair Rydell.
Here.
And Chair Wheeler.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, welcome everybody to a fantastic February board meeting here. First item of business, we have the adoption of the agenda.
We have B first. Notified.
Denise, was the agenda properly notified?
Yes, it was.
Thank you. Now we need a motion.
All right, so I move to amend the agenda. So as everybody can see on item F number 5, we have the Clackamas ESD here to share the local services plan. And we just need to add item J1, a vote to approve the Clackamas ESD service plan. So that would be item J to approve the Clackamas ESD local services plan as J1.
I'll second that.
Okay.
So we have a motion, we have a second. Everybody got that amended?
Yep.
All right, all those in favor, please raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
I probably should have asked while we had that open, is there any further amendments we need to do?
Not for me.
I don't think there is. So, we have a newly amended agenda. Let's go to item C, Board of Directors report. Starting with you, Director Walper.
I have nothing.
Okay,
Chair Wheeler, nothing to report.
Nothing to report.
all right, swinging around over here.
Nothing to report.
I do. I'm going to talk about wrestling.
Let's do it.
I'm not at the meet, but kids at middle school, there are 42 kids total in the middle school program, which I think's got to be the most ever. Anyway, they're in Stevenson, we're in Stevenson, Washington. We've been to Boardman, which was a long drive, and very thankful for the bus driver that's back and forth on that. That was a tough trip with middle schoolers for 3 hours each way. And then I just wanted to say, besides the middle school wrestling, I just wanted to shout out our teachers. We got to the end of the semester. I've received a lot of good feedback on my students' progress throughout the first semester and how they might be able to grow their learning for semester 2. So it's been good.
Excellent.
Yep.
Thank you. Chair
All
Rydell,
right,
Vice Chair Rydell.
Thank you. Just a couple, 2 Little Shop of Horrors a few weeks ago for the high school musical went great. So if anybody was able to get there to catch it, it was pretty awesome. There's a lot more going on, but I'm not going to go down the full list. We do have the All Northwest Choir in Spokane this weekend, so 6 Western states kids audition. And we've got 2 that are participating up there, so I will be flying up there Friday to check it all out. So that's all I got today.
Okay. I'll keep mine pretty short too. SK Youth Baseball and Softball has started their season with assessments this last couple weeks for the young lads, and I believe the softball has started this week. Again, as we see it in the schools, the numbers are pretty astronomical. I think we've had 4 teams at each level, except for the 5th and 6th graders. I think there's 5 teams, which is there only 4? 4 big teams.
Maybe there's only 4.
I think it's 55 kids, so I think there's might be 5 teams. But I might be wrong. Anyway, 55 kids, whether it's 4 or 5 teams, is a ton of kids out for a school district our size. So kudos to the people involved with youth baseball over the years to keep that rolling and being competitive at all age groups and all classifications of schools across the state.
What's the total number? I know you said 55, but that was just for 5th and 6th grades, so.
I think minors has somewhere in the 50s, junior, so which is 3rd and 4th grade. 5th and 6th has something like 54, 55, and then I believe the seniors is also in that same boat.
So 200 plus, 210,
300
300
with the rookies.
with the
and
rookies. Wow,
T-ballers. 300 plus.
that's a lot.
It's awesome.
It's really cool.
And it's super competitive. Being involved with it over the years, the amount of kids in the assessments that are being proficient at baseball is increasing, so that's awesome. So here's to a good season on that. I'm going to echo Director Johnson's communication about teachers and report cards at the end of the semester. We got a lot of good feedback in our household, and we also got some tips and tricks to keep up the pace through the second semester. So I appreciate that feedback, and I'm sure most of the parents do as well. We have a ton of reports and presentations tonight, so I'm going to keep it short. And we're going to roll right into district reports. Communications Department. Maggie Kelly.
Good evening. Danny Randall wishes she could be here tonight, but she has caught one of the nasty bugs going around, and we're going to let her rest so she can get back to her community collaborative work. So for February, some of the projects that we're really excited about moving forward right now is we are launching a podcast series with Superintendent Carpenter in the next couple of weeks. Superintendent Carpenter has done a lot of research on just some innovative platforms that our community and our world is utilizing more to get their communication from, and podcast is really growing exponentially. So we're looking forward to launching some relevant topics for our community, keeping it short at about 30 minutes so people can listen to it on their commute and really stay engaged in our school system, more than just the quick hitter super 60-second videos. So we're really looking forward to that. We also are helping to facilitate a lot of committee work. We have a couple committees going on, one led by Jennifer Berman, and we are just working to make sure that the community is represented in those committees, that we have a good number of community members, that they are staying informed on the progress and help facilitate that. And it's been great to see the conversations about important work moving forward in our district. And then we are also really excited to launch communication around graduation rates. Graduation rates were released for last school year, last week. It's always several months delayed, but Staccato School District had its highest graduation rate in district history at 94%. And that is the 3rd highest district graduation rate in Clackamas County. And Clackamas County has the district that had the highest graduation rate in all of Oregon. So we're among a lot of districts that have very affluent demographics, and for our district to be showing up for our kids and having our kids be competitive with those other districts is something we really want to celebrate. We're tremendously proud of it. So looking forward to spreading that communication far and wide. Then some of our recently completed projects, we really enjoyed collaborating with our school principals to do our Super 60-second series just to get their faces back out there. We had a couple of newer principals, so just get the community familiar with them and the great work that is going on in each of our schools. And then we collaborated with Josh Gray to do a great district promotional video. It was voiced by, I think, 6 or 7 students. It's really cute. I would highly recommend watching it. We put it on our district website. It's going to be in Sandy Cinema and just around social media as well. And it's so great to hear from the voices of our students what they enjoy about the Estacada school system. It also serves as a great promotion as we get into hiring season. We're kicking off hiring season right in the next couple of weeks, so we're excited to use that piece to promote the best and the brightest teachers as well. So we're excited to finish that up. One other thing I did want to hit on, as Vice Chair Rydell mentioned, we have been in the thick of musicals. I think we have a music concert tonight, and that is always a great communications department collaboration. We have Josh, who does a wonderful job live streaming and helping with sound. I think we have some student interns helping out with the sound tonight. We love promoting those events, doing short video clips, and then we have our translators and interpreters that are present as well, just making sure our families get the support that they need to engage with their child's events. So we always really enjoy engaging in those this season as well. And then Danny is doing a lot of great work moving forward our Destination High Performance Conference that is coming up in 1 month. So the countdown really begins for that, and we're looking forward to hosting visitors from around the U.S. and having our students share in how proud they are of the industry-leading work that they're doing. And then collaborating with the city of Estacada and just sharing a lot of district happenings. It is a busy time of year, and of course we are always on top of weather communications as well. So we've been busy with that over the past couple of weeks, and we'll continue to do that. Any questions?
Yeah, Maggie, since you brought it up, the 60-second videos, I'm still not getting those.
Okay, you definitely should. So I'm glad you brought it to my attention, and I will look into that this evening and connect with you to make sure you get the next one next
Thank you so much.
Tuesday. Thank you.
The podcast, who will be, is it gonna be the same person every week?
Great question. So Superintendent Carpenter is going to be featured on every episode, and then we'll have a guest as well. So our first guests are going to be Leticia and Noemi, which are our district translators and interpreters. In the future, we're looking forward to having teachers, students, district leaders that just can report on a variety of different things that they're best qualified to represent. So
It's just like once a week or once?
we're probably going to do every 2 weeks in frequency. It is a big time commitment, but we really want to look at how the first few episodes go and see how it's taken up by our community. Another topic that we're looking forward to in the future is talking about standards-based grading and reporting, and really going deep into that one, because that is just something that we could not do justice in 60 seconds. So we need a 30-minute dive into it.
As a consumer of podcasts, I'm excited for this. I've shifted fully away from short-form media and news, so this is a welcome thing, and I think it's going to be a new opportunity for us. I also wanted to compliment both you guys on the United States White House has recently implemented the MAGA Minute. I think it is a spinoff of the Super 60 Seconds.
Yeah.
So
It must be.
They got it from us.
Good job. All the communication is great, and I appreciate the weather information has been toned down a little bit from years past. I think I'm only getting text messages and maybe calls at 5:30, which is appreciated. So,
I was trying to hit the right balance there.
yep, it's good.
On the DHP, just for both of you guys, right, what are the details? What board participation involvement do you want? So the sooner we can get that out, the better, just so we can clear calendars and be prepared.
Yeah, it will be March 19th and 20th. We will absolutely get it on your calendars and make sure you have it on work calendars, board calendars, personal calendars,
Thank you.
and we look forward to seeing you there. It should be a good event.
Awesome, thank you.
And the board chair or the board chair's designee will have a speaking role in that.
Yes, he will.
That's, I feel the designee title coming to me very quickly.
Don't do it.
We're starting to prepare our slides and talking points, so we'll definitely loop you in and get prepared for that soon.
Finally, something to get excited about. Here we go. Okay, any other questions, comments?
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Maggie.
Thanks,
Thank
Maggie.
you.
Next up, we have John Simpson with our building and facilities report. John, come on down.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the invite. All right. I just want to start off updating you guys on some of our capital improvement projects we have. The softball batting facility is framed in, electrical's roughed in. We're down to grading, siding, and we're hoping to have that buttoned up within the next 2 weeks. We have contractors set up to complete some of the work, so we're excited to get that done. The second update I have is for the Clackamas River HVAC project that we started. We got that completed. We were able to get all the staff trained on how to operate the new system. Thanks to the efficiency of the system, we were able to lower the demand on our current heating system and allow that heat pump to heat the D pod of Clackamas River. So looking forward to seeing how that saves fuel costs and it'll decrease wear and tear on our system. So that's a big win for us. We have the batting facility. The press box is nearly completed. I've been out there and walked around it and stuff. I just want to take a minute just to recognize the hard work of the volunteers. That was a big project to do. And also just bring up the generosity of our donors. We were donated approximately $40,000 in material, which makes that press box completely cost-free to our community, which is a big win. And it looks beautiful out there. And last update is from our facilities department. Just want to recognize some of the great work we're doing. We're started upgrading some of our drinking fountains, Clackamas River outside of the gym, the science wing here at the high school. We switched those out to bottle fillers, which is a little better option for our community, make it more convenient for people that are using our facilities. The middle picture, you'll see is the Ranger Woods. Scott Fish, our lead grounds, went out there and clear cut all the vegetation out of there, so there's a clear path for students to be walking through there. And the last picture is of our maintenance guy, tech, Nick Akins, who is showcasing our new de-icing products that we got. It's pet-friendly, it's green, and it's working really well for us. So our facilities department is ready for any weather that comes.
It's a bold statement.
It is. I'll stand behind it. Anybody have any questions on?
How do we handle like thank you cards for donors? And that might be Superintendent Carpenter question.
Yeah, not a problem. The people who are the recipients of the donors typically give the donors a letter with our tax ID number thanking them. And then in some cases or exchanges, we put up banners and that kind of stuff, just recognizing their donation and advertising their company or business on local spots to showcase that.
Any other questions? Thank you,
Thanks,
Nick.
John, appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Yeah.
All right, next up, we have our finance and accountability report from Tanner Simmons. Board, we have a slight change. What's going to be updated on here, or what we're going to see on these screens is accurate. In board book, you got to click out of D, the presentation district reports, and go to D3, the actual individual finance and accountability report. That's the updated version.
Thank you, Ben.
For those of you guys that are following along out here. So, Tanner, take it away.
Awesome, thank you, good evening. I wanted to point out, I did include at your seats a little memo for you to follow along as well. I think that it's pretty handy to have something that you have in your hands to be able to see those numbers as well. A little bit easier to see than on the graphs. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of a snapshot of where we're at for January 2025 and year to date. Revenues for January 2025, we got about $140,000. I wanted to point this out because as we had not completed our audit in January, we did not receive our state school fund. We have received that payment for January and February as of today, so there is no miss on any cash inflow. So I just wanted to let you guys know that we're all good with that. And the year-to-date total for revenues is $33,400,000. So we're on track with what we are expecting throughout the year. Then jumping to the expenditure side, we are looking fairly good. So the very first one is instruction. We are projecting about 97.78% of the total budget to be expensed. The second one is support services. We're looking at 81.9% to be expensed. And I believe last month, Director Walper had a question regarding why is there such a big difference? Why is there a 19% difference in what we're expecting and what was budgeted? And I went back and I looked just to make sure. And there was budgeted some unemployment insurance. That we weren't sure how much that was going to end up being. So when it was budgeted at a larger amount, just to make sure that we're all good there. And then other things like liability insurance, as we are working through year-end stuff, we moved expenses out from this year to last year, so there's some timing differences with expenses that are charged to last year, not this year. And then salaries, just a higher budgeted amount than what's actually being charged to those accounts. So that, again, it's just a budgeting thing. And it's good for the in fund balance. My apologies, guys.
One question on that, Tanner, before we go.
Yeah.
Because I think this is one of the things you were alluding to is that, excuse me, with the new rule of employees can qualify for unemployment over the summer. So,
Yeah.
so this, as far as encumbered, right, we still don't know exactly what that's gonna look like. And so that
Correct.
was a big part of, as everybody knows, the state law changed that if you're not a certified employee, as a classified employee, school year ends, you can file for unemployment. School district then needs to pay that unemployment through the summer. And that's a really big number. And so that's a big reason why there could be some misalignment, because we just don't know exactly what that's gonna be.
And
Right.
since this is the first summer of that being implemented, we don't know what the threshold would look like. So, yeah, thank you for that
Yep.
explanation. Capital fund, I'll flip my piece of paper. We're looking pretty good, so we're at projected $3.4 million ending fund balance. This is a combination of all of the capital funds that the district holds, which includes grant funds as well, so the seismic rehabilitation grants, as well as the what we call the 400 fund, which is the district's capital improvement fund. Summit Learning Charter, for the month of January, after payment to the charter school, we have a revenue of just over $100,000. That continues to decrease as Summit Learning continues to increase their enrollment. And then enrollment for the Estacada School District, we're looking at a total increase of 41 students since last year. That is 3% change, not 3%, sorry, 3 student change for CRE from last month increase, an 8 student increase from last month for River Mill, a 5 student decrease for the middle school, and an 11 student decrease for the high school in total. So from month to month, from December to January, that would be a 3 student increase, and a 41 student increase from last year. And then in total, including SLC, we're looking at a 6 student decrease, but a 94 student increase since last year. So we're trending in the right direction. And then there's a graph to kind of show the historical data points. This is good for Estacada. I just came back from the OASBO, Oregon Association of School Business Officials conference, and there are a lot of school districts that are hurting as their enrollment is declining. So an upward trend that we're seeing is really good for our budgeting process this year.
Does the trend seem to be that kids are getting pulled out of public schools and into the charters of the world, or are people just vacating Oregon?
That's a good question. I'm not totally sure on the reasoning behind decreasing enrollment.
You know what would be interesting to see on that chart is how many people, or how many students are enrolled in the Estacada school system that are out of this area. Because from what I understand, talking to people, that we're doing a really good job here, which I think we are. And people like sending their kids here. So it'd be nice to know how many were, you know, are we gaining population because of that, or are we losing population?
For sure.
John, clarification just for my own good. You mean the students that are coming to our brick and mortar facility, how many are outside the resident boundaries?
Right.
Okay.
And we can provide that number to you, but there is an asterisk by it because there are also some students who come to our school that live outside the boundary but use a grandparent's or somebody else's address
okay.
here, which is, just makes it a little bit muddier, but we can get you that for sure.
And they don't tell us that they use their grandparents'
don't
address,
tell us.
just as a caveat, so.
Until we discover it, correct.
Awesome. Any other questions?
Good job, Tanner.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tanner.
I welcome any and all feedback, so please don't hesitate to let me know what you want added, what I can work on. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Tanner.
Tanner, is there anything not discussed or shown in the financial report we need to be aware of?
No.
Excellent. Any further questions? All right, thank you. Next up, we have superintendent's report.
Thank you, Executive Board. I'll try to keep this to an hour or less, but we have a lot going on, although I'm not seeing my slide deck on there. Maybe you need to refresh it. But I will just get started with that because I have it memorized. And the first thing that I want to share with our community on public record is obviously we are expecting some inclement weather predictions over the next couple of days. And I just wanted to make our families aware that we are monitoring that closely. We are seeing some school districts and community college campuses already making the closure decision. And while I think that it's likely that the weather model is showing that the morning is going to bring possibly an inch of snow, we are communicating with our families tonight to prepare for the event of virtual school tomorrow. And we will make that call at no later than 5:30 a.m. tomorrow. I think it's a little too early with bare pavement on the ground right now to make that determination. But at the same time, we are aware, and I'd like to just pre-prepare our families for such a pivot into virtual learning. Couple wins I'd like to continue to share. Again, like Maggie said, a 94% on-time graduation rate is the best overall graduation rate in Estacada School District's history that we posted. As I have the opportunity to travel the country as well as the state to tell Estacada's story to leaders throughout the United States, nothing pleases me greatly that in the year 2006, the Estacada School District graduation rate was 56%. And over the course of time, we've now increased that to 94%. We were the worst in Clackamas County, and now we are the third best behind the Lake Oswego School District and the Westland-Wilsonville School District, and then Estacada. Nothing is more humbling and honoring to be mentioned among those different groups of people, and I'm just so proud, and it's a collective win. The school board deserves recognition for that, our administration deserves recognition for that, and every teacher, bus driver, custodian, and cook and paraeducator, kindergarten through 12th grade, played a role in the transformation of our great school district, and I'm so pleased to be able to share with our community that this is a great school that makes competitive children to compete both in the workforce and in colleges as they exit our school systems. That 94% also is a combination of Summit Learning Charter School, the third largest charter school in the state of Oregon, housed in our Eagle Creek Elementary School facility. And Estacada High School posted an 89% graduation rate. Another thing I'm very proud of, especially for the school board of directors, members who have been on the board for at least 5 years or more, we made a very bold transition to serve all students in the general education classroom at their neighborhood school with their peers. This was controversial, it's been hard, and it's taken a lot of community education to explain why all kids should be served and welcomed inside our doors. And I'm happy to report to you, along with that 94% graduation rate, that 92% of students served by special education also cross the graduation stage either with a modified or a regular diploma, which is just an outstanding accomplishment for all kids inside our school district, and I'm very pleased about that. We welcomed several guests today to walk through all of our classrooms at every single building. And I just wanted to thank our great teachers and employees to be able to showcase the great continuous improvement work happening at the classroom level. I've got to tell you that on March, when we host Destination High Performance, which is nearly sold out again, this will be our third year, with a likely a sellout of leaders and educators from around the United States who come to Little Estacada, Oregon to see this crazy thing that we're doing that's creating this achievement. And I would like to invite the school board of directors to not only come and see the opening, but also to participate this year in going classroom to classroom just to see the work that's happening each and every single day with our children. It really is quite impressive, and the maturity of our teachers engaging our students and the co-ownership of their learning is absolutely stellar and paramount. And one of the things that you typically hear from teachers across the United States is the apathy of children and the disengagement of students, which is ultimately what correlates to a declining enrollment as parents seek an engaging learning environment either through charter schools, homeschools, religious schools, etc. Part of the reason why the Estacada School District has retained its student population is because our ability to go alongside the learner and allow them to co-own their learning journey. And this is the work that's been so fun to showcase over the course of time. And then lastly, I just want to recognize Estacada High School. They had their high school winter formal last Saturday, and both the principal, the vice principal, and our school counselors, who also lead as the student council leader, reported back on a Sunday. They took the time in their day off to report to me how excellent and safe winter formal was. Superintendents typically lose sleep on prom night and on winter formal because of just student drivers, bad decisions, and other circumstances. And so nothing pleased me more greatly on a Saturday night and on a Sunday morning to hear that it was one of the best winter formals we've had in our time. And I think the reason for such an outstanding event is truly evidence of an improved student culture inside Estacada High School and how we're supporting each other through that process. So just a big hooray to Estacada High School and an extremely safe event on that night. Here's just a couple pictures I wanted to share with the board of our walkthrough today. We had folks from all around, but the local partner from Nestucca School District was here today. They brought 11 leaders, and if you don't know where Nestucca is, it's in the home of Pacific City, Oregon. If you've ever had a beer from the Pelican Brewery, that is the home. That is the home place. No one on the board drinks alcohol publicly, but it's important to just point out that that's what they're known for, to give context. We have just completed semester number 1, and it's important that your superintendent gives you an update of how students are learning over the course of the first 18 weeks of our school year. And while we still have many challenges and many gaps to fill, I am proud to announce today that we are doing quite well. In fact, we are better today than we were last year at this day. Now, while it's kind of hard to read, I just want to point out that, of course, we're a standards-based grading school district, and so ultimately we focus on kids who are proficient at grade level standards and kids who still are not there yet when it comes to grade level standards. Last year, in the year 23-24, at the end of the semester, 43% of our students were passing 80% of their essential learning standards or greater. This year, 56% of our students are already attaining grade level standards, which really puts us at about a 13% increase from this year to last year. And so I'm really pleased to report that we're halfway through the school year and we're already performing better this year than we were last year. Attendance is a nationally focused area to make sure that kids are coming to school so they can receive that great education from a highly qualified teacher. And so the state of Oregon monitors kids who attend school 90% of the time or more. And I'm happy to share with our executive board of directors today that every single week in this first 18 weeks, with the exception of 3, so 18 minus 3, I believe, is 15 weeks, our student body has attended school 90% or more. That is an increase of 2 weeks from where we were last year. Last year, there was 5 weeks where our students attended ultimately 90% or less. So kids this year are showing up to school more frequently and regularly, and I believe ultimately correlating to higher student outcomes. And then obviously when we think about our teacher's voice, one of the major frustrations coming from our teacher voice about 4 years ago was students' inability to turn in the work of the practice and homework assignments that they were giving. The University of Chicago and Carnegie focuses this on and calls it essential work completion. And so we wanted to anchor ourselves to the methodology of the University of Chicago and Carnegie when trying to identify students who are at risk. And so you can see here that we track every kid who has turned in 80% of their homework or better. And you can see that this year we have a 3% increase over last year. And so we are getting students to engage in the practice work that our teachers deem most relevant. So those are the 3 big wins. We're doing better academically, we're doing better in attendance, and our students are in fact turning in the work more. We do have a little bit of a challenge that I'm excited to share with the board as well. And you can see from 3rd grade to 8th grade is kind of our big area that we need to prioritize and focus. Our 9th graders through 12th graders are killing it. And by the way, if you've been on the board for a multitude of years, you'll know that Director Shibahara, as well as I believe Director Martinez, when they first came on the board, 9th grade success was a paramount project for them and when they got onto the board. And I'm happy to share that right now our 9th graders and 9th graders on track are one of the leading things happening inside our school district right now. So that turnaround over 5 years is really quite exceptional. I do want to say that there's an asterisk by the 3rd grade through 5th grade, and this is a systems issue that we need to address. You can see kindergarten through 2nd grade from the bar graph is actually doing quite well when it comes to grade level attainment or proficiency. The reason is because kindergarten, 1st grade, and 2nd grade, they took a snapshot in time. And so even though the standard is an end-of-year standard, our teachers are communicating through this data that right now they are on track to demonstrate proficiency, while 3rd grade, 4th grade, and 5th grade identified the year-end standard with where they're at now, which means more kids are not there for the year-end and not. And so that's something we just need to clean up and align as we come into the 2nd semester. So while I reported a 13% increase, it's actually, the data is actually better than it looks, because if you would say 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade was a snapshot in time too, you would see more credit attainment and learning attainment through that process. And then lastly, as we look at every single essential learning standard, so do math, social studies, science, electives, music, etc., there's probably about 900 essential learning standards that have been given throughout the course of our kindergarten through 12th grade process. We track each and every single kid through their process on that. And so right now, there are about 600 total essential learning standards out of 2,000 students that are not being met by our students. And so we're working hard to close the gaps. You can see in those 3-tiered colors there, the blue are people who have 0 to 49% attainment of their overall learning standards. I hope I'm kind of making sense as I go fast on this. The orange group is passing 50 to 69% of their standards, and the green group is passing 70 to 79%. So one of my challenges to our teachers, to our principals, and to our organization, because if you look at all 3 tiers and try to eat the whole elephant in one bite, that's an overwhelming and unrealistic approach. And so over the course of the next 9 weeks, I'm challenging our organization to really focus on the kids in the 70 to 79%. These are the kids that are almost there. They have one more test to take, or they have to retake their test, or they're just a couple things short that a couple of read days could solve. And so I think if we can get those 198 students who are passing 70 to 79% is ultimately going to close the achievement gap, ultimately correlating to an even higher student attainment and standards base. I'm going to pause there about academics really quickly before I move on to immigration.
I have a question. Oh, go ahead, Vice Chair Rydell.
end of year ELS, because that's not a new one, right? And we've kind of
Correct.
bounced back and forth on
Yep.
that. So without getting totally to the end, I'm assuming we're gonna try to align that with everybody else, right?
Correct,
So,
yep.
Because if we keep it that way, then every kid's gonna be failing halfway through, and that's
That's
not
right.
the message that we wanna send.
Yep, it was a communication error on our fault, on our part, and I take responsibility for that. But our intention, starting yesterday and moving forward, is a snapshot in time is where we want to be. We'll do the year-end standard at the year-end time.
Perfect.
And so that's our plan, so that you'll see more aligned data from that perspective.
Perfect, thank you.
I have a question regarding the COVID era and its effect on particular age groups of kids.
Yep.
I know in my house, most of you guys know, I have a ninth grader, eighth grader, and a sixth grader. I've noticed that it seemed to have affected my sixth grader much greater than the other two. And is that something that is a trend, or is that just a Wheeler household anomaly? Because it seems like in those elementary ages, he's learning the foundations for so many things, or should have been, and because of his absence from the classroom, because of obvious reasons.
Yep.
It seems like we're lacking in certain skill sets. Is that a norm, or is that a?
Yeah, so it is a norm. I wouldn't say that it's a particular age group or group of kids that suffered significantly, but your family household that you describe is very common, where some kids struggled more than other kids during that process. I would say that during COVID, our innovative work to offer a relatively robust virtual schooling process that I think rivaled charter schools at that time. Really, if you compare our data to other public school data, our kids did statistically better than other kids, but that doesn't mean that some kids were hampered. The Carpenter household was the same, where my current eighth grade kid kind of struggled in the reading and language arts attainment, where my older kid, who's now currently a freshman, seemed to thrive through all of it. And so it just impacted kids differently in different ways.
Gotcha.
Yep.
With regards to the read, do we have any pushback from parents as far as if we identify a student that needs help and we want to help them? Do we ever have issues with parents saying, no, we don't, we're doing 4 days a week and we're not? Because if that's true, then we're going to have a hard time moving this
Yeah.
up.
No, it's a real, it is a real thing. I would say the pushback isn't from a resistance perspective or a protest perspective. One of the things when we moved to our 4-day week model with the opportunity for read days is part of the portion of the reason to do that was to give families the option to come to school or to not to. You know, during the COVID days and returning from the COVID days, families really enjoyed kind of the time from home and their options to travel, take a longer weekend, and those types of things. And as we moved to that model, because we knew that we needed to compete with the charter schools and other private schools in that sector, because to go back to a traditional setting, people were going to choose a different pathway because they didn't want to return to the traditional setting. Another example of why public schools all around are losing enrollment, while I think we're maintaining ours, is because we were innovative. But back to the read day conversation, is because we gave parents that choice. So even though John Walper might have failed a test and a teacher invited him to come back in, it's really the family's determination if they want to take us up on that offer. And so we're not getting resistance from that perspective. Some parents are just choosing to opt out on their own volition through that process. But I would say that gives a little frustration to our teachers who are identifying where there's gaps. We're making time to support that child in small groups or individually to address that gap, but the families aren't necessarily engaging. But we baked that intentionally into the system to give family choice into that process. Yeah.
And I think one thing too, I don't remember the number, but we looked at student proficiency the first year that we added the read days, and there was a noticeable increase.
Yes.
And I can just say from a parent standpoint, you know, I've got a kid that's playing baseball, choir, band, everything else. And if we didn't have read days, I don't know when he'd get his stuff done.
That's right.
Because he lives in Central Oregon this time of year between
Yeah.
all of the things that are happening. So
Yep.
I know Chair Wheeler said it too, that those days are paramount for at least my kids, because it really is an opportunity to get caught up when they're busy doing other activities that we want them to be able to do.
Absolutely. And in speaking about students who struggle with food scarcity, these Fridays give kids the opportunity to get one more day of food. We're feeding kids, we're running buses. And so our service is still really a 5-star service, even on Fridays, as we try to work in smaller groups. But even though it doesn't always work in our favor, I'm proud that this model gives families the opportunity to engage in it or not, because family choice is so popular right now in any type of education setting. So our traditional public school giving families that choice is a bonus for us. Great question, thank you.
If a teacher requests a kid to be at read day and the kid doesn't show up, does that mark as like an absence?
It doesn't, only, we take attendance on it, so yes, we mark them absence and we track engagement of that read day, but because we extended Monday through Thursday and the length of time, Friday actually doesn't count as instructional hours, or we don't get ADM funding for that specific day, so it doesn't actually penalize a kid and their overall attendance. It's just we're monitoring that to see if the read days are as effective as we want them to be. Yeah. Great question. So I'm going to move on to a very controversial topic that really nationally, as we transition into a new administration and executive orders and federal laws are being changed, I think it's important that we take the time to intentionally recognize some of the hot topic issues. And immigration right now, both in public schools and across the country, is a very hot topic. And I wanted to just take the time on public record to both communicate to the executive board and to our community how the Estacada School District is working through this very hot topic, political topic, and something that also brings fear and anxiety to several of our students and families inside the Estacada community. So one of the things that I want to make loud and clear is the Estacada School District has always thrived as long as it follows the law. If you go back to COVID, we had extreme pressure to violate the law in order to open up our schools in our community and disregard the law that was there. No different than when we had a fire, no different during COVID, and various other circumstances. We understand where our community stands and their perspectives on that, but as a public entity and as a public school district that represents the Estacada community, it's important to recognize that we would be in bad shape, or it would be malpractice for us to pick and choose which laws we like and which laws we don't like, which would ultimately veer us off course and ultimately bring liability and lawsuits to the taxpayer. And while our money is to educate children and not to fight in legal and court battles, we always need to make sure that we are aligned and in full compliance with the law. It's also how we earn our trust with the community, by ensuring that our policies, our guidelines, and the laws are consistently followed. So with that being said, and our adherence to the law, it's important to understand that Oregon is a sanctuary state, and we are required to follow Oregon law. Now, I'm going to pause there for a moment to recognize that our community may have a differing opinion with Oregon's law. They may have a differing opinion with their political affiliation and or their paradigm. Every single board member, including myself, has my own opinion about this piece of it, but all opinions are irregardless to our requirement and duty to follow the law. And so Oregon currently says that we are not allowed to volunteer, provide information, and or cooperate with ICE or any other federal agency. If we were to do that, we would be in violation of Oregon state law. Now, that being said, we're also going to follow the law. And so if a federal ICE agent were to enter into any of our school buildings, I want to let our community know first and foremost that we've had multiple conversations with our administration, and we've practiced scenarios, and we are prepared in the event if an ICE agent were to come. And there are really two different pieces of paper that an ICE agent can present to us. So let's just say, hypothetically, an ICE agent enters into one of our elementary schools asking for information about a student, or asking for information about a family, or one of our employees. There are two different types of subpoenas that an ICE agent will come with. It's either an administrative subpoena or a judicial subpoena. The Oregon state law says that if an ICE agent has an administrative subpoena, we are not supposed to comply with that. An administrative subpoena is an internal document created by the federal ICE agency, and Oregon law prohibits us from complying with that. And so, because we follow the law, we will continue to follow Oregon state law until that law changes. However, if an ICE agent comes into our school in that same scenario and asks for the same things I just talked about and supplies a judicial subpoena, this is a subpoena that's been signed by a federal judge. The Estacada School District will immediately comply with ICE agency because the law stipulates that that's what we must do. We are working with attorneys, and we have attorneys on call. We have protocols so that if an agent is to enter one of our buildings, the principal or vice principal, whoever's on duty at that time, will be the sole responder. They will contact the Director of Student Services, Jason Hobson, and then we'll work with our attorneys to make sure we are doing exactly what I'm promising you now, and that is following the law strictly. Now, I'm just going to conclude by saying I understand that my comments will upset half of the people who I'm talking with right now, as well as half of our community will praise this. I just want to make clear that we are not in this for popularity, and we are not trying to abide by any political ideology and or system. We are simply here to strictly follow the law, and we will continue to do that because that's what our community depends on us to do, and we will stand firm on that. Any questions regarding our immigration policies?
I would just say, Ryan, thank you for running through this, because I know there's a lot of confusion. And so I'm really glad what you went through was what I understood to be the rules, so.
Awesome.
Appreciate the alignment. But I would also say, again, if you don't like the laws, the school board is not where you need to go. So go to Salem, call your representatives, right? I was down in Salem all day last week. I was in Olympia all day yesterday. That's where the laws are made. That's where the laws are changed. So as much as we, again, as Ryan said, we all have our personal feelings and opinions on that, it would be irresponsible for us not to follow the law. But if you're really frustrated about a law, call your elected officials, make an appointment, show up in their office, have the conversation. I think there's some people in the audience that may have done that once or twice over the years, so you might be able to get some local coaching on what that looks like. So it's just really important from a
Absolutely.
system
And
standpoint.
we acknowledge that what the executive order and what federal law has changed in Washington DC versus what Oregon is doing and trying to do, and we can already foresee a nasty war in the courts between Oregon and DC. But until Oregon law changes, we are required to follow it. And so that's just where we're at with that. Here's another local hot topic that's going to be fun to discuss, and I need to prepare the board for this because ultimately this is a major decision coming your way. And it will be ultimately the Executive Board of Directors' decision. So as Tanner shared with you with our enrollment and with trends showing that we're going to continue to steadily increase over the next 10 years, we are currently over capacity at River Mill Elementary School with students already being served in portables. Estacada Middle School is at capacity, and I predict we're going to need to put a portable on their campus next year just to serve the 6th through 8th grade population. Clackamas River Elementary School is at capacity right now as well. And so while our school board and our team, I believe, effectively tried to communicate to our community the urgent need to invest into our loud and clear is that this is a problem that we recognize, and now it's your responsibility to solve it, and without any money, by the way. And so I just want to make loud and clear that we are going to have to tackle this issue. But the fun part is we're going to throw it right back in our community's lap. And I say that for sport because it's going to get nasty. Anyways, we just started our community committee to look at rebounding and reconfiguration. This committee reports directly to you. And so they're going to be ultimately sharing their recommendations with the board on how we should proceed forward. We've now had 2 meetings, and this is a super talented committee representing primarily parents, community members, and business owners. I'm trying our best to keep employees out of this because this is not our employees' problem to solve. This is our community's problem to solve. And so this committee is comprised specifically of that demographic. This group is now looking at 5 specific options. The first one is the status quo option, and that is to do nothing but slam portables. And over the course of probably 3 or 4 years, I anticipate we're gonna have to take out playgrounds and other things in order to slam more portables into the space in order to adequately serve our kids. The second option is to reboundary, where kids go to either Clackamas River or River Mill. The problem with rebounding is quite obvious. We're basically taking 2 full buildings, rearranging them, and sending them back to 2 full buildings. And so that's not necessarily a viable option, but it's being considered. The third option is to reopen Eagle Creek, which is absolutely Eagle Creek Elementary, which is something the district has a responsibility to consider. It's just important to note that currently at Eagle Creek Elementary, 1,400 kids attending Summit Learning Charter, the 3rd largest charter school and the most successful academic charter school in the state of Oregon. That's what they call home. And our partnership with Summit Learning brings in a revenue of roughly $2.5 million and trending upward as more people leave local school districts to attend our charter school. The third option is to keep the high school intact at 9-12, turn the middle school back into 7-8, and reconfigure our elementary schools into a kindergarten 3rd grade building and then a 4th grade 6th grade building. And while this, I think, is a viable option, we still need to recognize that our boom and student enrollment is really kindergarten through 5th grade. So that would be another example of reshuffling 2 full buildings and placing them back in 2 full buildings. The good thing about this option is it would allow us to consolidate resources, so all kindergarten teachers are on one campus, and we can serve and support our kids in a more efficient method, if I would say that. And then the last one, which is in alignment with our school bond package. If you'll recall, our ask was to rebuild Estacada High School and turn it into a 7th through 12th grade building, serving both middle school and high school. The benefits of that is this building right now is at 60% capacity. It's the place that has the most space for us to fill folks. And then either River Mill or Clackamas River would be K2. River Mill or Clackamas River would be 3-4, and then what's currently Estacada Middle School could become 5-6. And while there is no leading direction, and this is a decision that needs to come from this committee, as well as collecting voice from our community at large, I just wanted to prepare the board that at some point, probably in March, April, or May, this committee will be coming to you with a recommendation probably of 2 options in which the board would get to select the last one. So that being said, I just wanted to share that, but our goal is to have this decision made by the end of this current school year, and then we would execute the recommendations of this committee and the official approval from the board to start in the school year 26-27. So that's not next year, it's the year after that. It's at that time when that decision is made is when we will engage our employees to best figure out how to execute that. But at this point, this is a community problem that needs to be solved by the community. Questions on that?
Ryan, I'm doing some quick math here, sorry, I wasn't fully paying attention. But in another board I'm involved with is the Estacada Planning Commission. And just in case anybody's questioning the growth that Estacada is gonna see, we are at, since, call it 2019, 961 residential lots that are approved. Some of those have been built out. And then there's also 7.5 acres, 8 acres of multifamily, so.
Yep.
So it's coming, and you can see it on the north side of town, so there's no question that it's gonna happen. Something needs to happen.
I'm interested to see what the committee brings. I know that there was some just kind of straw votes on early, what do we think? I think it's really important to look that, what we have to do here is solve for capacity.
Yeah.
Right, and so in my mind, if it doesn't solve for capacity, it's a waste of time.
Yep.
We're just shuffling the stuff and we're right back there. And I think you brought up a good point is if we start plopping down portables, right, this is gonna be space that not only the schools use for recess time, but it will take up space that youth sports, uses, and so it will have a significant impact if the result is throwing down portables. So I think as we look at what we have for capacity, we've got to maximize the space, and none of us, I don't think anybody in this room thinks that either one of these is the best option.
Correct.
But the voters resoundingly said, either I won't show up to vote, or if I did, no. And so whatever we do here is going to be impactful.
Yes.
And So I'm looking forward to those conversations.
Nope, I agree with that. And I do want to just recognize Jennifer Berman, our Director of Teaching and Learning, who is spearheading this committee and getting great help from some of our other leaders. I also just want to point out, too, that this isn't just a willy-nilly approach to solve this. In this committee, we're also using research and data and the pros and cons of this many transitions and all the things as well. So we are taking an academic best practice approach in an attempt to solve this, too.
Are there laws about overcapacity?
There are not, no. Yep.
I shared this before. My family moved to Escada in 2012, so we're not, but what I did hear a lot of is that, from the community, is that the buildings, that's where they went to school, they work fine they were fine when they went to school. The fact is, nobody in the community has been in the schools the way that they are now,
Yes.
way overcrowded. So I think that that's a false comment, to think that you're going to the same school that was 20, 30 years ago, because they're completely different.
Yeah.
So if that is, when it does come up again, I think that should be addressed early and
Yeah.
often in that.
Yep. And one telltale sign of that is River Mill Elementary School right now has only 10 kids less than Estacada High School. And so, it's just an example of how large and overcrowded our elementary and the families who are moving in and the age of the kids who are moving in. And it is our responsibility to fix this. And fix is probably not the right word. Just try to triage what's happening right now to best serve and support that process.
I've got a question. It would be very, very beneficial, I think, to tag a $sign to each one of those.
Yeah.
People, I think, would be more excited and more able to make a good decision if they knew how much money it was gonna cost.
Yeah.
And I don't think we've done a real good job of that in the past. It's ultimately gonna hit our pocketbooks.
Yep.
And if we could come up with a fairly good, and I do say good, cost-wise, I mean, comparing a half a dozen trailers versus, let's say that last one that you recommended, what would it cost to upgrade the classes so that we could move them around and have, more kids, seventh, eighth, and ninth?
Yeah.
In here? And could we do that with the current floor plan, or would we have to add trailers there? It'd just be a good idea to know. I think it would give us all a direction.
Speak to that at all?
Yeah, I can say as the committee is working, we've started to do some of that work. And I've got some really soft numbers, but we're not at a point where we can share them yet. But that's part of it, right?
Okay.
With that last example, just to stick with that one for now, physically, can we make it work? What would we need to make it work? Do we
Right.
need portables? Do we need to add? Do we need to reconfigure? Do we need to shuffle? One of the priorities throughout the bond was safety. So if we do anything with this building, right, we need to get the office out front to the art room, so that would be part of that process.
Yeah.
So we're absolutely looking in all of those at what the cost is, to just shuffle K2, 3, 4, 5, there's not really a cost, right? Because we're literally just moving kids around. It's just the emotional damage and hard conversations that we're gonna have with all the families that don't like it, but.
That will be real.
But yeah, we are absolutely will. So before any decision is made, we've got a really good idea of what those costs would be and what the functionality would be. And I think it'll be a combination of both. You know, I think
Right.
it's capacity. That's what we have to solve for at this point in time. So, but I love the question, and yeah, we'll have real good clarity by the time we get
And
there.
I think we need to tell the community that this is only a Band-Aid.
Yes.
This is not gonna, I mean, we're gonna spend money doing this, and then we're gonna have to spend more money 3, 4 years down the road.
Yep.
So, it's not gonna be easy.
And when do we think we're gonna hear from the committee?
My hope is probably April. We were tentatively hoping for March, but to this committee's credit, after last night's meeting, they are also taking this decision extremely seriously, and we got the sense that we don't want to rush them into some form of judgment. So I would say April is probably a realistic timeline of when you'll hear from them and getting closer to their recommendation.
How large is the community?
The committee, I think it's 23 people.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
And I would say that deadline by the end of the school year is a self-imposed deadline. It
Yeah.
doesn't mean that if it's not done by
Yeah.
the June meeting that it's all off and we can't do anything.
Correct.
Because we're looking to roll this for the 25-26 school
Yep.
year, or 26-27 school year.
Yes, correct.
So it's a self-imposed deadline, and we're not gonna rush it, so if we need to back it off a little bit.
Yeah, nope, that's a good point. It's just also important to recognize that there are two sides to this decision, the community side and then the employee side, and giving, teachers the time, the space to try to figure out, and the administration, how best to pull this off so that it doesn't disrupt the impact of the learning gains that we're seeing right now. Okay, I want to move on a little bit to talk about our virtual school day and our expectations. I know that anytime a superintendent makes a weather call, it's a 50-50 call in terms of people's support and or understanding. But it's always good to educate on how the decision is made, and this is a great opportunity to remind our community just how we make this decision. And so I want to clarify that the Estacada School District has 5 experts, all who are a part of our transportation team, have their CDL driver's license, serve as bus drivers for us, and so I would call them the most expert and professional drivers that we have. They start that road monitoring at 4:00 a.m. every single day. Both myself and the communications directors and others also wake up at 4:00 to begin the collaboration process. We drive up to George, we drive to see how the Georgians are doing. We also drive into all of the different dark spots and places across our 750 square mile school district from 4 a.m. and onward. We always are going to make a decision at 5:30 a.m. We typically don't make a decision before that unless it's an absolute no-brainer of what we're going to do. But here are the 4 things that I think I just want to remind our community of how we create this decision. The first thing we always have to make sure of is, does our school building have power, heat, and internet? 3 essential services to modern educational practices. The second thing we look at is, can our school buses transport students safely? Now, that's a big, heavy diesel bus, we understand, with chains and sand, and so they are superhuman in some cases when we travel around, but we're very mindful of that. And then the last thing that we really try to prioritize and focus on is our teenage drivers, 16, 17, 18-year-old kids who are being asked to not only transport themselves, but their younger siblings to school as well, and we need to be mindful of that. Those are the 3 major things that we absolutely look at when determining to go 2 hours late or to declare a virtual school day. One of the things is a misconception, particularly of our employees, is the identification if our employees can get here safely. We want to make sure that we do have minimum employee service so that we can run our daily operations. But we do believe that our employees, unlike any other adult in the Estacada community who has to drive to their job, this is an expectation of our employees as well. And for the most part, they do a great job of owning that and identifying that this is an essential service to our community, and we do a great job of trying to get there. But I just wanted to communicate that our employees' ability to drive is not a factor in to have school or not to have school, unless, and there was a situation 2 years ago where Estacada was actually relatively mild, but the Portland metro area just got absolutely buried, and we just could not get a workforce to come. Therefore, we had to make a school decision because of that. But at the end of the day, our community our school district recognizes that probably 80% of our community wakes up every morning and commutes to work outside of Estacada. And even when we declare virtual school days, we recognize that they still have to drive in those conditions to their place of work. And I wanted to recognize our community in that, and also talk about how we make that decision. And so we trust the professionals. There's a lot of collaboration that goes into these decisions. And while this last week was definitely an opinionated decision, so I received in social media and other places, I just wanted to share that I thought we got it all right in terms of when we started on time and when we got in that direction. And I stand by those decisions, and I stand by the recommendations of our professional driving team. Questions on that?
I just want to say thanks that you wake up at 4 in the morning and
Thank you.
you know the one school board meeting we had and we were here till 10 something and we still had to drive home and
Yeah.
you still had to be up at 4 to do the thing. So
That's tomorrow also.
yes.
Yep, but I appreciate that, thank you. We're a team, and we try our best to notify people as soon as possible, but families can always expect their robocall to come between 5:30 and 5:40 because we recognize that families need to make plans and they need to pivot accordingly, and so we try our best to make that call as soon as possible. And finally, from your superintendent's report, and I'll just be quick here, but I really need to do something I've never done before, and that's do a more public job of marketing some of the places that we're incredibly short-staffed right now. The first is we are looking for a middle school counseling position. We have 2 great middle school counselors, both of whom are going to be going on leave as they tend to family needs or expand their family situation. And we've had a really difficult time finding a temporary counselor replacement to fill in for them for the remainder of the year. And so if you are a retired teacher, or if you are someone even internally who is teaching in our school system with a certified license and are interested in dabbling in what the world of counseling looks like, we're really trying to promote somebody either from within or find someone retired in our community who can temporarily fill in and support that. Counseling in today's world is an essential service to our daily operations. Also, if you happen to know anybody that loves working with kids and likes to cook, or at least watch cooking channels, that we would love to have people sign up to be substitute cooks. Again, our nutrition services staff works extremely hard, and they also deserve a sick day, and they deserve their time off and their vacation time. And unfortunately, right now, because we have 0 substitute cooks, we're always shorthanded when it comes to that. So if you are watching this, or if you're friends with someone who just needs something to do and can pass a background check, we would like the opportunity to have you serve our community in our kitchens. We're always looking for bus drivers, and I just wanted to communicate that our Director of Finance position, we're working on the job description and salary range and that piece right now, but we hope to post that on Monday. And then our Executive Director of Operations position, we hope to post in May. Both of those last positions will effectively start July 1st, but it's time for us to get into the hunt and compete with other school districts to find our next best candidate for both of those positions.
If the right person comes along for either of those last 2, are we able to
Yep.
onboard them early?
We'll start them tomorrow. Yep.
Can you let us know where are we gonna be posting these positions? If people are interested, how do they
Yes.
reach or find more information?
Did you say you wanted to be a substitute cook?
No.
Oh, okay.
Let's try.
Awesome. Yes, when we post it, we'll actually send it to you as well, because I know you have a network as well, and maybe you could help with that too. But yeah, we'll let you know when that's out.
And I'm just saying in general for the public to know if,
Yep.
you know, are we doing Indeed? Are we doing,
All
you
of
know,
it.
where are we posting these?
Yep, yeah, we subscribe to several platforms that, and I know Indeed is one of them. Yeah, yep. That is your superintendent's report.
Any questions? We get one collectively.
No, I already asked it. I'm good.
No? You did a thorough job, thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have reports and presentations. First on the docket is the Estacada FFA. Getting used to seeing you guys. Come on down.
Right.
Well, I promised I'd help Caleb since the rest of our peeps are wrapped up in sports and OSET and everything else. So, change of schedules, so I'm here to assist him as needed.
We had our dinner and auction, and we want to give a big thank you to Day Wireless and Reliance Connects for the venue. We had 140 people attend and raised over 120,000, or not 120,000, $23,000. We did adopt a family, and we adopted a family within our district and gifted over 30 gifts and food. And then we had our Winterly Day, where we had three participants in job interview, and Logan came in second place.
And then we just had our district convention on Saturday at Sandy High School. This is the biggest participation we had. Last year we didn't have anybody compete, and this year we took a whole herd of them, so that was pretty exciting to see. So Emery Smith did her demonstration speech. She demonstrated how to fit a goat, and she took first place. And then we had Duke Duran, Nicole Payson, Rosalie Hybert, Ashlyn Bunyard, and Emery Smith compete in the info test. So it's a 50-question test all about the FFA history and just about our district in general for FFA. And so their team placed second, so that was pretty exciting to see. And we have a really great group of freshmen. And then Kayla Marthaler, she was our district representative on the nomination committee for our district officer. So she kind of got to sit through that and kind of get that experience. So hopefully she'll bring that back, and maybe we'll have a district officer one day. That would be exciting. And then Emery Smith and Callie Hardesty, they put together a scrapbook, and they also submitted that, and that was fourth in our district. So that's kind of exciting that we are kind of stepping up our game, and we're participating in some different things and getting some results. So that's exciting. These are just our upcoming dates for the rest of the school year, just so you kind of know what's coming up and what's happening. State convention is our next big thing. Last year, we took about 6 kids. I have them fill out an application, and our alumni sorts through that because our alumni pays for them to go, since they are the ones who have that $23,000 we raised, so that's part of what they get out of it. And so this year, I have about 12 applications sitting on my desk, so that's really exciting that we've doubled our numbers on kids that we're going to take. We are hosting the floral contest here again in my room. So we'll have at least 4 to 5 schools travel here and participate in this contest. We have locals come help judge that contest and kind of educate our kids, so that's exciting. Our plant sale is April 14th through the 19th. We are already planting things. We have like 95 hanging baskets already up and going in the greenhouse. We had a big work day in the greenhouse, so a bunch of our alumni and community members came and helped us seal things up and get the heater running, hopefully more efficiently here soon. But just get that kind of up and going, because it was a work in progress last year for me and my students, so it was nice to have some adult power in there getting things fixed. AgFest, we have been invited to help set up for AgFest, which is a part of our fundraising for the year, but also participate in their petting zoo. So our members will take animals down there, and then they'll get to interact with the public for that weekend and kind of promote our school district and our chapter, so that's exciting. And then our CDE days are at Oregon State University. This is our first big livestock judging contest. This last summer, we had a beginning livestock team, so our freshmen and sophomores right now compete on that team. They were second at state. They're already practicing on read days and they're gearing up for this contest and a bunch of traveling opportunities this summer, and then our state contest again in August. And so I'm pretty excited to see what they can achieve. And we also have a big group of our other freshmen that did not compete this last summer that are going to be on our beginning team now. And so we kind of have two big teams that are rolling, and it's excited to see what they're going to do. Tractor driving, one of Caleb's favorites, is on May 14th. That's in Canby. And then our Spring Awards banquet, which you are all more than welcome to come to, and we will definitely send you an invite when we get closer. That's just where we're going to recap all of our achievements this year, and kind of celebrate with our community and just wrap things up and get us ready for all of our summer activities. Questions?
The floral event?
Yeah.
Is there a specific group that's invited, or is that open?
So it's open to any of our kids. I am gonna start promoting it more heavily in my floriculture classes. I teach 2 sections of that, and the way that I structure my class is basically the way that the contest is ran. And so as we kind of get deeper into our curriculum second semester now, I'll start promoting that more, and hopefully we'll have a team again. Last year we had a team and they were second, so hopefully we can do that, or maybe first. So all of our kids are welcome to come, but I definitely promote it pretty heavy to floral just because they have those base skills in class.
Thank you.
Anything
A lot
else?
going on, it's awesome.
There's a lot going on, yes.
Yeah, you should be really proud of yourself. I feel like you, it's a gift to the community. You're doing a great job.
Yes, it's definitely been a pleasure to hear everybody and their support, especially after our dinner. I did not expect that many people to show up, and I was really nervous, and it turned out great. And so it is definitely growing, and everybody always has really great things to say. So
Yeah, doing great.
perfect.
Awesome.
Thanks for coming.
Good job.
Thank
Good job,
you.
Caleb.
All right, moving right along. Number 2. We have Lisa telling us about a Caruth breach.
It's the fun job.
Yeah, mine isn't gonna be as fun as theirs. So, we felt it really important for you guys to, just get a quick update on something you may have heard in the news, or with other school districts in Oregon. So we just wanna tell you where we're at right now. I'm gonna give you just a little bit of summary and some background. So the update on the data security incident involving Caruth Compliance. They are our third-party administrator that manages our retirement compliance plans for our public schools and nonprofits, including us. It's the voluntary 403Bs and 457s, not PERS. Okay, so this is our voluntary retirement plans. While we were not breached, our systems were not breached. However, Caruth did inform us that some of our employees, both current and former, personal information may have been compromised. So we immediately started working with our insurance provider, PACE, and a law firm, we'll just go with Costangi Group. They have a whole bunch of names involved there. We're all assessing the situation together. So basically what happened is back in December 21st of 2024, Caruth experienced a data breach where unauthorized access of personal information may have occurred. We were notified on January 13th and immediately took action to understand the extent of this. Caruth reported to us that they engaged in a third-party cybersecurity specialist to investigate. They notified the FBI, and they did determine that personal information may have been accessed without authorization. And of course, the compromised information is very similar to all the other ones you've heard about: names, social security numbers, financial information, could include W-2s, tax statements, driver's license, and so on and so forth. How we responded, we engaged PACE, our insurance carrier, and they immediately signed with the legal counsel from the Costangi Group, and they're giving us the legal guidance on this, including a lot of the things I'm saying here. The attorneys requested detailed information from Caruth about the breach and its impact. They wanted to make sure they ensured that the credit monitoring and identity theft protection services were made available to all individuals, and these all individuals could include beneficiaries of any of the people who might have been compromised. Our district immediately sent out a letter to our current employees based off of PACE's direction, and our attorneys have signed with IDX. They are a credit and cyber scan monitoring firm. They are taking our address data from all of our former employees through current, which is 1999 to current, And they will be sending a letter, we'll be notifying all those individuals via mail whose information was shared with Caruth, and it's inconsistent with the Oregon law, along with, we have to notify the Oregon Attorney General. So what we're hoping, well, right now Caruth is offering complimentary credit monitoring services through this IDX. IDX will have a call center. In the letter, it'll give the QR code, a call center, and an FAQ section. Currently our website has an FAQ of what's currently happened. That will expand as we get more information from IDX and have more questions come to us. But again, this was not our data breach. It is Caruth Compliance's. Our responsibility lies in informing all current and former employees, as well as you, the board, in case you have any questions. Does anybody have any questions about this?
I do. Thank you. Data breaches are not rare, unfortunately.
I know.
I spend a lot of time on this on a daily basis, so I appreciate the proactive work. On the mailing, the letters that are going out, who are those coming from?
It will be on our letterhead.
Our envelope as well, right?
I believe, I'm not sure if they're gonna do our envelope. Yes, I think they're gonna put they're gonna text our name on it, not our logo, but yes, it'll be
Okay.
in text. That way people won't throw it away, they'll open it up.
That's my point,
Yeah.
right? So if we don't want it coming from a different vendor, so I would just double
Yeah.
check and make sure that we
Yeah,
feel good about that.
We had talked about envelopes and letterhead, so we'll see
Okay.
what they do.
And then the free credit monitoring,
Mm-hmm.
how long is that free?
It's 1 year.
And do they drop after the year? Because I anticipate, right, if we're communicating that, or if whoever else is doing it, the IXB or whoever that is. Number one, I don't want people, we're signing them up for free, and then after a year, they start getting charged. That's
There's-
not,
There is gonna be a charge.
so,
It's in the
so
letter.
again, I think we've got some time, but we need to figure out how we communicate that, because, again, it's just, I do this a lot. And so we need to give an opt-out notice or something, so that we can hopefully get some dynamic response of they wanted to continue and get the fee, or they asked to stop, so that the monitoring stops and that's not on us. So those are questions I would want to ask the group.
Great, we
Yep.
can do that. We've been assigned an attorney with them. We were on biweekly calls for the first 4 or 5 weeks with a lot of legal people.
When do we
Arguing.
expect these letters to go out? Because this is
The
already.
timeline hasn't been set yet for that. We did get our data in for the first round. Our tech director worked with ESD on getting our mailing. And again, we had to go back to 1999, which crosses over 3 different databases that we've had. ESD did a great job in getting us the information. We have 2,439 people who are going to get notified. And so we are hoping to hear by the end of this week to find out when our mailing will go out. We have no control over it.
Did we do an initial mailing?
We did just to our current employees per PACE's direction.
Because we're already 2 months,
Yes,
right,
we
after
are.
the breach, and so I know, this isn't on you, right?
Yeah,
This
no,
is-
I know,
but-
we're doing that too. I mean, as soon as we heard about it, we're like, and we couldn't, our insurance company asked us to hold until legal counsel could do everything. In fact, legal is the one who's writing all of our letters.
That's a good thing.
We're, again, just responsible for notifying the people.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
Thanks.
While Lisa's here, I'd just like to recognize her, and I know you guys don't get to see Lisa a lot. She's our human resources coordinator for our classified staff, but she has taken and spearheaded and just owned this process. And if you think about her normal day, this is time that our district is spending that is completely distracting from our best-in-class service that we're trying to provide to our employees. While this is still great service to our current and former employees, I just wanted to recognize the time that we've had to deviate and carve out for something that was entirely out of our control. And Lisa has been a champion with a great attitude, and she's working with a bunch of interesting folks in an effort to make it all work for the betterment of our district and employees. So thank you, Lisa,
Thank you.
and I appreciate all your hard
Yeah.
work on this.
I also want to note Christy Cheshire, our
Yeah.
Director of Technology. Without her, I wouldn't understand half of this techie stuff that's happening, so she's right in there with us.
Yes.
So, yeah. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
All right, next up, we have academic update after semester 1. I think this is going to you, Superintendent Carpenter.
I actually did it in my superintendent report,
Okay.
so we're good.
Same with 4?
Yep.
Okay. I just didn't wanna make sure we didn't wanna touch on it again.
You want me to do it
No.
again?
No.
Well, I'm just giving you the opportunity to think of something else to talk about.
Yeah, I'm good. I'll rest.
Okay. All right, so next up, we have Clackamas ESD Local Service Plan. Superintendent, come on down.
All right. Good to see you tonight. Great to be
Thanks for
here.
coming out.
Yeah. And welcome aboard.
Thank you.
To your new role. I'm Larry Didway, Superintendent for Clackamas ESD, and it's good to be here with you again this evening. And it's great to hear all about all the fantastic things happening in Estacada, and congratulations on the graduation rate. I mean, that is an impressive move and improvement here. So, yeah, we're proud to be partners with you. Tonight, we are here with a few of our friends behind me, our board members from Clackamas CSD, our Vice Chair, John Iman, and Nadine Duffield, who's back here, and so is Susan Trone. And this is our annual visit with you to share with us, or share with you, our plans for the 25-26 school year and our local service plan, outlining the services that we are planning for our regional school districts. But before I talk about that local service plan, and I see you're getting the materials there, I do want to offer a few thanks to a few folks, beginning with your superintendent, Ryan Carpenter, who is very much a valued member of our superintendent's group that meets regularly to share information and collaboratively address challenges. And I deeply value his thoughtful partnership and leadership, and we are often text friends at 4 o'clock in the morning. On some days, I suspect maybe even tomorrow. And I also want to say thank you to Ken Rydell, who has provided years of steadfast service on our Clackamas ESD Budget Committee and even chaired the group in 2024. And we very much appreciate your service and hope that you will agree to continue in that role in 2025. And we also, in your packet, there is a local service plan, this blue booklet here. And this is actually the only document that you're being asked to approve. But before I talk about it, I do want to call out on pages 10 and 11, there are a number of other Estacada School District professionals that meet regularly with their peers across the county. And we definitely want to express our appreciation for them and their commitment to that collaborative work. We also want to say thank you to you, school board members, and we weren't here in January, so we missed Board Appreciation Month, but we want to say thank you, not just in January, but all year long, and tell you that we very much respect and admire and appreciate the work, the time, and the talent that comes with public service in the role of a school board member, and that you make a difference in our entire region by really valuing and centering youth and their needs. So thank you for your work. And we included a packet of note cards that feature art from the 2024 Clackamas ESD Art Show, and as a token of our appreciation. So the plan, the local service plan, this is something that's developed annually, and it is required by the state. It covers all of the services that the ESD provides, and it begins with work from our advisory groups who are informing and providing input on that plan development. And while the structure of it stays very similar, and it's partly outlined by state requirements, inside things are adapting and changing to needs as we are greeting new trends and new issues and new needs. It does reflect a partnership between the ESD and all 10 of our school districts, beginning with our resolution services, and those are the services that all of the school districts are paying for and participating in. And then those are in the areas of special education, technology and data, teaching and learning support, as well as direct revenue that can be applied to ESD services of your choice. Then by a majority vote of the Chief Administrator's Council and very strong advocacy by your own superintendent, a new resolution service was added in 25-26, and that is contracting with a registered lobbyist to advocate for the interests of Clackamas County school districts. So we have some work on fleshing out exactly what that will look like, but that is one thing I will call out and express some appreciation to Superintendent Carpenter. It also covers our contract and grant services, and those are things that are paid for by multiple state or federal sources, or by school districts that have just requested and are paying directly for those. And those are in the areas of early learning, student support services, some special education, some technology, teaching and learning services. Again, the local service plan has been approved by the Clackamas County Chief Administrators Council, and that's all 10 of the county school district superintendents and the president of Clackamas Community College. And then it goes to the ESD board, which did approve it as well, and it's here tonight for your review and approval. There are some other documents that I want to call attention to that are there for your information, beginning with this fiscal year review. It looks like this. And you've got the one for Estacada, but you also have a copy of each of the other 9 component school districts, just for your information as well. And that does have a few highlights I want to mention. It does reflect more than $2.8 million of value in total services to Estacada. And that is more than a $400,000 increase from the previous year. And it's more than $706,000 in revenue that was funneled directly back to you, which was a little less than the year prior. There are vibrant partnerships reflected in there, providing early learning evaluation and support services, which is actually not correct. In this, we are not doing early learning evaluation for Estacada any longer. But we are helping to support some inclusive learning experiences for young children, providing special education services to some students with very complex needs, supporting improvements and enhancements to curriculum and instruction in diverse areas such as literacy, math, STEM, and CTE, and support for school nurses, counselors, and helping to address students' mental and behavioral health needs. We also provide a range of data and technology support, including things like cybersecurity issues, as we heard mentioned earlier. We hope the format of that report, though, is giving you more context about the ways Estacada School District and Clackamas ESD partner with each other, and if there are some other information or other ways that this could be shared with you, we would be happy to make those adjustments, so your feedback would be appreciated. And then we also included a copy of our annual report this year. It's called All In, this one here. And that covers about the same fiscal year review period, beginning in 23 through 24. And that's just using data and storytelling to provide more information about what Clackamas ESD does and its impact in the region. We also hope that that's useful to you, and we would welcome your feedback on that document and any thing that you would like to see featured in future reports. And then I snuck in one additional document that in there that looks like this. It's a one sheet, and that is something that we developed prior to our legislative breakfast that we hosted with Clackamas Community College in December. And I share that with you because on the back of it, it does have our 2025 legislative priorities so that we're collectively developed by our 10 school superintendents. And I know that in your role, you often have the opportunity to be meeting with our friends in Salem and taking on an advocacy role. I wanted to make sure you had that available and that you know if you would like additional copies of that, you can let Superintendent Carpenter know, and we'll be sure to get those to you. And with that, I'll pause to see if you have any questions.
Superintendent Dibway, do you have any specific House bills or Senate bills right now that you're keeping an eye on as far as legislation?
Yeah, you know, yesterday I was in a meeting and I seriously, a little gobsmacked. There are more than 3,000 bills that have been filed, and they don't stop until, the cutoff isn't until Friday, so they think it might hit more than 4,000, which is about double what I've ever heard before. So, but yes, we do have a host of those that we are tracking, and tracking closely.
Okay.
It's almost doubled just since January.
Yeah, it's
There's like
nuts.
2,600.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It was over 3,000 yesterday. Yeah.
Any other questions? Thank you for coming out and
All
providing
right,
this for us.
Thank you. We very much appreciate the partnership. Thank you.
And I'd just like to say to the board, I know a lot of veteran board members, but the Clackamas CSD has always been a great partner to the Estacada School District, and we're able to offer quality services in a school district our size due in part to the partnership that we have with the ESD. And Superintendent Didway has been a faithful partner of ours and is always looking for Estaca's best interest. And so I do support this package, and it's always been a longstanding partnership that I greatly value and appreciate. So thank you as well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
What?
Which reminds me, Superintendent Didway's here. I recall last year, the Oregon City School District hosted a board social that several of our board members attended, and we had dinner together, and all board members from across all of the districts in Clackamas County. And I was either incoherent or unconscious at the time, but Estacada volunteered to host that
No,
next social.
Ryan volunteered. I just want to make sure, I was there, and it wasn't an Estacada thing, it was a Ryan
Okay,
thing.
I might have said that we'll host the next one, and that's something that we probably need to prioritize over the course of the next couple months to get it on everybody's calendar. But I just wanted to put that on the board's radar as a part of that.
Okay, moving along. Thank you for that. When is that?
What?
We haven't said it.
We don't know yet.
As soon as the chair determines when it is.
When
Yep.
the sentence starts with, oh,
Yeah.
that means we don't have a date yet.
Okay. We'll find a date for that. Let's keep chipping away at the agenda here, though. We have Clear Trails, CPAs, and we have Tiffany Elverum. I believe I saw you on the, there we are.
She's online.
Hello, can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Perfect. So my name is Tiffany Elverum. I'm a manager with Clear Trail CPAs. I'd like to thank the board members for having me here tonight. So I'm here to present the audit report for June 30th, 2024 for Estacada School District. I'll be going over the governing body letter, which summarizes the audit report as a whole. So I'm hoping you guys have that in front of you. And then on page 1 of the board letter, we discuss the purpose of the audit. For the district, we focus on performing a financial statement audit, a compliance audit required by Oregon minimum standards, and then an audit related to the expenditures of federal awards. And then moving on to page 2 of the board letter, we discuss the results of the audit. The district had an unmodified opinion on the financial statements, meaning we gave a clean opinion. For the state minimum standards, we found no exceptions or issues requiring comment except noted on page 58 of the report. And then for federal awards, we found 2 issues of noncompliance, but no questioned costs. And then for management letter, we noted 2 material weaknesses and then 2 significant deficiencies as noted in the schedule of findings and question costs, which is on page 67 of the report. And then moving on down to the significant audit matters section. For corrected and uncorrected misstatements, management corrected all such misstatements. And this was due to all the hard work. Thanks, Tanner, again, for all your hard work. I know you were thrown in and you did a lot of the hard work, and so just want to thank him for all his hard work. And then that concludes my presentation, if anybody had any questions.
Hang on just a second here, Tiffany.
It's coming.
We're updating something on our end.
Okay.
But we could hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, everything you said was loud and clear. Is there any way we could get a summary of all those pages that she mentioned so we can?
It's on there now.
It just came through.
It just came?
Yeah.
Yep.
Perfect.
Thanks, Denise.
And I also sent you, if you'll recall, maybe 2 weeks ago, the 2 pages that kind of highlighted our areas of weakness.
From a board standpoint, do you need anything from us other than that because we normally have a letter or something that we have to do individually. Is that gonna come at a later date?
Yes, so we send those every year as we start the audit, so you'll be seeing that again in the summertime.
Okay.
It's at the beginning.
Yep.
They're so close.
They are close.
Yeah.
Okay,
But I think that ultimately that no significant findings, so there's nothing in there that you're raising red flags on that we need to take action on from a local school district standpoint.
So you got a clean opinion, and then we did note some material weaknesses and significant deficiencies, but management did correct those and then has steps in place to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Perfect.
okay. Any other questions? On the audit? Okay, well, thanks for coming today and presenting, and we'll go over this in a little bit more detail when we have more time, and get back to you if we have any questions.
Yes, of course, thank you.
Great. Thanks,
job.
Tiffany.
Great job,
Okay.
Tiffany, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. We're moving on to item G, discussion item. Oh, we're right on time. The bond, or lack thereof.
Yes, I guess I can take this, Ryan, and then feel free to jump in, but in our special session, it was brought up, that the details from the committee around trying to address school capacity, one of the options that was brought up was moving seventh and eighth grade over to this building and what modifications that we would need to make to do that. The reason that the timing of a bond came up was if we wanted to do a bond, a small bond even, it would need to be approved tonight to get on the docket. And so in looking at, and we don't even know if that's the direction we're gonna go in, right? So that's the other important thing. But, so it was really just a last minute, hey, do we wanna make one last decision? And looking at preliminary numbers, I don't think, if that's the direction we go in, I don't think that a bond is necessary to make the changes that we would need to make to fit.
For a minimal viable product.
Yeah, so one of them that was thrown out there was a 5-year bond with no tax increase. It was about $12 million. Even with that, with the proposal of potentially making those changes, it's gonna be substantially cheaper than that. And so we can talk more about it, but it was just a last minute push. I mean, it was every night for about 4 nights trying to figure out where the numbers are gonna land. I've got soft numbers on it. But at this point in time, and I don't think we were all heavy to go for it, but I don't think that, if that's the direction that we go in, a bond would be the way to go. The other part too is we don't even know if that's the direction we're going in right now from a committee standpoint. So if we go out for a bond and we get a bond and we don't do that, now we're taking $12 million and now we gotta figure out what to do with it, which is that's not the way to manage the public's money. So, I'm happy to answer any questions. It was a real quick conversation last Tuesday, I think, so, but I'll open it up for any questions from the board.
I think that's a smart idea.
Also, the significance of putting a bond up on this election was that this is the last election we can have for a no tax, nobody would see anything different on their
No tax
property
increase.
taxes on on taxes due November 15th, so.
So while I appreciate the timing and looking at that as an option, I think that it's, even if, so there was one at a 5-year bond, $1.16, $12 million. You do a $10 million bond at $1.16, or about 24?
That sounds right.
22, I think it was 24. Neither one of those are substantial enough to make significant improvements. And so I just, again, I think if we're trying to do what we can do to address capacity, that's not enough to add on to any of the elementary schools to really address capacity. And so I just think at this point in time, we don't know enough. And I appreciate it was, hey, this is the timeframe, let's look at it. But we don't have enough information at this point in time to legitimately be able to say, this is what we're gonna do and this is what the bond would pay for. And I just, from an alignment standpoint in our community to try to be responsible, we don't have enough information to move forward with that. But I do believe if that's the option that we take, it will be substantially less than either one of those bonds. And it's something that we could figure out in a different way.
Good.
Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
And I do appreciate the board's deliberation. Like you said, it was 4 nights of deep conversations. I think I spoke with board chair and vice chair until at least 9:30 or 10 on a couple of those nights, and just the seriousness and the thoughtfulness that went into that. And then ultimately with the community's best interest at mind, I agree with that recommendation.
Okay. Any further question? Concerns? Okay. So for now, tabled. Next up, we have hearings of citizens for action items only,
None.
and we have none. Moving on to the consent agenda. Consent agenda is a package of one or more items to be voted on as a unit. However, if any board member is not in favor of one or more agenda items, prefers to take separate action, a request of the chair anytime prior to the vote will remove that item separate for the vote, or for a separate vote.
Chair Rydell, I move to accept the consent agenda as presented.
Motion denied.
Chair Wheeler.
Chair Wheeler. Too many years. Sorry,
It's all right, I call him Chair right now too.
I'm broken.
Can I second?
We got a motion for consent agenda as approved as written, and a second from Director Lohmeyer. Any further discussion on this needed? All right, all those in favor, please raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
Okay. Moving on, item J. Approve the Escalade School District's 24-25 Integrated Pest Management Plan.
I'll redeem myself. Chair Wheeler, I move to approve the Estacada School District's Integrated Pest Management Plan.
Second.
Got a motion, we have a second. Again, this is kind of a fun, weird one, because you're the pest manager.
That's a state requirement, and we're required to communicate to our community how we intend to keep its buildings pest-free. And the chemicals that we use, we have to publicly disclose. So this is that annual plan that's required.
Any other discussion needed? All right, all those in favor, please raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
All right, we have that item J1 here. This is to approve the Clackamas ESD service plan. That's presented.
Chair Wheeler, I move to approve the Clackamas ESD Local Services Plan as presented.
Second.
Motion and second. Again, this is what Superintendent Didway just came and presented to us. It's a yearly thing. Significant changes from last year. He kind of touched on them, but it's probably worthwhile to kind of give the Reader's Digest version again.
Yeah, you bet. And actually, this coming year, we're actually utilizing less of their services. And while we all pay, every school district kind of pays into this thing, and then it gets divvied around. But we ultimately get allocated our dollars, and if we use less of it, we get the money back in return. And like he talked about, we used to use the ESD for early childhood intervention screeners, so identifying students pre-kindergarten or younger who have disabilities. They used to provide that service for us. We since have stolen some super talented people from the Weston-Wilsonville School District to do that service, so we no longer use that service, which will ultimately save us more money. However, we are adding, and it was actually on my own behest, as Superintendent Didway talked about, in this new plan, we're going to add a lobbyist, someone who will go down into Salem and represent the specific needs of Clackamas County. We typically use COSA, who represents all school districts, OASBO, who represents the school business officials, and of course, all the teachers' unions have their lobbyists. But there's no one really speaking and lobbying for Clackamas County's specific needs. And so this is something I did feel like this was worthwhile in our investment to make sure that we have our own advocate in Salem to just kind of represent our laws. And the cool thing about Clackamas County is we are kind of a microcosm of the state. We're liberal, we're conservative, we're urban, we're rural. And so we really are a nice representation of the state at large. And Portland Public has a lobbyist, Washington County has a lobbyist, and so I just felt like this was something we needed to get into the game with, and I was successful in receiving the vote of the other 9 superintendents in support of this, but that will be an addition.
And I'd say that's huge. I mean,
Huge.
there's so much stuff, probably 4,000 bills down this long session.
Yeah.
If you don't have somebody there telling your story, it's not going to get told. And
That's
so
right.
it is paramount if we want to get the legislators listening to what we need. We've got to have somebody there doing it. So
Amen.
kudos to Clackamas CSD and you
Yeah.
for getting that rolling.
Okay, thanks for that. Any other questions, discussion?
I would say just around the ESD, if anybody wants to come and sit in on a budget meeting,
Yeah.
340 pages of fun, so
So who-
come on in. I'll let you know when the next one is.
If you were any good, you could drop it to about 18.
It was good enough that they gave me the chair when I walked in. It's like, hey, we're gonna have you chair this year. Oh, cool.
Sounds like John's gonna be there with you.
That sounds like, yeah, see if you can get to 18.
After he's done substitute cooking.
Exactly.
Yeah,
I watch diners, drive-ins, and dives.
there you go, that counts.
All right, let's vote on this thing. All those in favor, please raise your right hand.
Motion carries.
Excellent. Next up, we have item K, hearing of citizens for non-action items.
None.
None. Anything else we have coming up, school board related, Destination High Performance will be after our next board meeting?
That's correct. You're going to get a slew in the next meeting because March 15th is the state renewal, non-renewal, that piece of it. So aside from your superintendent's evaluation and that process, just remember in the consent agenda, that's a big thick form of all the employees who were renewing, non-renewing, accepting resignations, et cetera. So I just want to warn you in advance for that. And then lastly, I think next school board meeting, you're going to get to meet, we have 14 applicants for we're calling it the RISE Committee, but that's ultimately the new committee that represents or that reports to the board in terms of making sure that all of our students and our policies represent all different folks inside our organization, and we are so pleased to see such outreach and enthusiasm for that, and I'm excited for you to make a selection of 7 out of a pool of 14.
It's actually a pretty good turnout.
It's amazing,
I
yeah.
didn't think that would happen.
We've gotten a lot of positive praise for this, and people are very excited about this opportunity.
Awesome.
So, are we gonna have a quick summary of each individual,
Yes.
a resume or
Yeah.
something?
I'll make sure that you guys are completely dialed in so that you can, make quick decisions and proceed forward.
I would say this is definitely a meeting, looking at the agenda ahead of time, because there's a lot in there as far as renewals and non-renewals and
Yep.
these types of things. So yeah, this is definitely one that, get in there early.
Yeah.
So that if there is questions, we can ask those questions, we can
In
answer those
advance,
questions
yeah.
before we get into this meeting, so.
In fact, it'd probably be good to pin down board agenda planning meeting, because the last few
Yes.
dates have been squirrely on that.
Yeah,
Do that right after this?
yeah, yep.
Okay.
And then, last thing is budget timeframe is coming up fastly. Fastly, is that a word?
Quickly.
Quickly.
Expeditiously.
Do we have any vacancies for the budget committee, and when is our first, go-around of that?
Yes, we have two vacancies. We reached out to each of the budget committee members in or mid-January, and I'll have to hammer out some more of the details going forward, but
Okay.
we've started that process.
Okay.
And Tom is a faithful member of our budget committee, and that's why Jonathan Metcalf is here tonight, is to volunteer to be a part of our budget committee.
Thank you, Jonathan.
I did what?
All right, if nothing else, let's adjourn.
That's it.